Alright, well, first off, I just want to thank and welcome you to the first episode in the RavenzCraft Arts Chaos Magic series. We're sitting down here with Asbjorn Torvol, also known as Darren Taylor. Just want to welcome you to the show and thank you for talking with us.
Thanks, man. Good to be here.
Alright, so in this talk we're going to be kind of going over some topics relating to the use of traditional old magic and how we kind of incorporate it into today's modern magic. So first I just want to go back and kind of learn a little bit more about you. For those of us that don't already know, what is your main spiritual practice or following?
The tradition I follow kind of as a foundation, the path to Vitki, is is chaos magic itself, is psychology, ceremonial magic, hermeticism. So I mean there's a good blend of everything. The best way for me to describe it, the gods that I work with are Norse. The symbols I work with are Norse. A lot of the practices I do are inspired by Norse mythology, and all that is done through the foundation of the psychology and the ceremonial magic. So I mean, there's a good blend, and I do often go into other things, but the Norse is the one thing that I classify myself as.
Is this something you started off with, or what was your first path of interest?
When I started, I was very into just basic energy work and paganism. I started looking into ceremonial magic and hermeticism from a very, very early age. Like everyone else, I was born into a Christian family. It's a pretty common story. But from there, I started to have this fascination at a very early age for religion and philosophy, and the real beginning was looking into more Eastern traditions, Taoism, Buddhism, but that led me to paganism as I got into my very early teens. But the very first thing I would say that I really delved into magically would have been hermeticism, and just from there building on things, bleeding into other things, and then eventually the Norse path came kind of a little bit later on than that. The strongest basis of my foundation for all my work is psychology, and I've said many times in a lot of my posts and a lot of my live streams that when you break down any tradition, regardless of what it is, be it Haitian Vodun to even just chaos magic, once you strip away the symbols and the masks, they all look relatively the same, and the symbols that we place upon a tradition, what relates to our subconscious mind. It's very heavily based in psychology, and so it's the tradition that we take is I would speculate that it's somewhat of a resonance to a certain type of symbology or association.
Now it seems there's always two sides. You have the traditional practitioner, which we all have respect for. We all respect the old ways. We also must evolve and adapt our practices and ideas. I believe magic is connected to nature, and as nature evolves, our magic must evolve as well. So I guess here is the big question of the video, and I know it's a little bit different for everyone, but what is your definition or explanation of chaos magic?
Chaos magic to me, when you break it down to the very basis, is by definition, it would be the absence of order. Magic that is not orderly. Now, what does that mean? That means taking what works and using it. And psychology would probably be, in my opinion, would be the basis for that, because, each individual associates different symbols with different things. Just for example, a man in a suit. Some people will look at a guy in a suit and they'll see success, they'll see money, whereas another guy will see him as a snobby guy who's, only worried about his ego and whatnot. So, even the most mundane of things can be brought to that symbolic element. Chaos magic to me is just using the symbolism that works for you to achieve a result. Now, I know we can go into concepts like, meta belief and whatnot, but it's simply using what works regardless of its origin, regardless of its historical accuracy. Just to touch on the old ways, I've said several times that it's great acknowledging history. It's great honoring history, but to just repeat in someone else's footsteps isn't evolution, that's repetition. And it's great to, as much as experiment and try to practice in those same ways, but if you don't bring it into the now, things have evolved. I could go and wash my clothes, the big metal basin with the river water or whatnot, or I could throw them in the washing machine and have it done much more efficiently. The Magick is the same thing. You're taking it into a modern world and making it more efficient, making it more plausible for you to evolve. And the one thing that I directly oppose in Magick is dogma and absolutism. I am all about the individual and perspectivism. And I mean, that's essentially chaos magic as a philosophy, not even just as a craft. The individual is the most important aspect, and that means using what works, regardless of where it's from. If it gets results, who cares?
Now, take for example the Galdra staff here. It's a modern misconception that the Galdra staff here was from the Viking Age, but actually this was a certain symbolism and magic method used that was evolved from the runes and the Norse practice. Do you agree that symbols and their meanings evolve?
Look into the very depths of what a Galdra staff here is. It's a sigil. Now, what are sigils? Well, we use sigils to get into our subconscious to manifest a result. Now, let's take this in historical context. They would have seen those sigils, or Galdra staff here, whichever term or semantic you want to throw on there, would have been held in a much different regard in what it is now. So let's take the Aegis Yama, for example, or the Helm of Awe. It's said that historically, and this will be debated, of course it always is, but the most common belief was that it was to strike fear in your enemy. And today we see it as a protection symbol. Well, which is it? Well, it's both. It depends. It depends on your individual subconscious mind. See, this is the thing, is that meanings can change and intentions can change. If you tell someone that this means a certain thing, even if it wasn't originally, and that keeps getting passed on through generation through generation through generation, it becomes subconscious programming. And so we don't even have to think about it. The meanings of sigils are very, very personal. It doesn't matter what its true meaning is. It's what your subconscious associates it with. That's the important factor. I love reading the historical text, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to get the same result that they did. And so we have to look at, well, how is my mind going to manifest that? Because me and some old Viking dude from generations ago, hundreds of generations ago, isn't going to be the same. I'm not going to get the same result. I'm in a different era. The subconscious programming is different. The culture is different. And so the result is ultimately going to be different. That doesn't mean we can't use it. It doesn't mean we can't utilize it. It just means that it's going to be far different. And that's magic. It's everyone's mind reacts differently to the same stimulus. A kid who grows up with a dog, or has grown up with a dog, is going to respond very good with dogs, whereas the kid who gets bitten by a dog when he's younger isn't going to respond as well. So even with the same stimulus, two different people can have a completely different reaction. And that's the same with magic. You can have the same stimulus, but two very different manifestations.
So it's obvious to me that all of this is right in front of our face on television and everything. What do you think about all this subconscious programming? Do you think it affects us?
Yeah, I mean, this, I tell people this, it's very difficult for people to get because they always take it in a specific context. It doesn't matter what people read, what it means. You can go and read a book about how that the original symbol for that was this and this and this, but the fact is that the first thing that comes to your head when you see that symbol is generally what you associate it with. It doesn't matter what it actually is meant. If you look at that symbol and you go, okay, that's a Nazi symbol, that's your subconscious. That's not even your conscious mind. It's like when psychiatrists use the stock photos. It's to get the immediate subconscious association. It's not about the conscious mind. It's not about what you think. It's about what you're programmed. Right. And that is essentially magic as a whole. The whole point of the magician, whatever term you want to interchange that with, we're essentially self-psychologists. We're looking to understand our subconscious mind, understand our programming, and rewire that to manifest great results and greater benefits in our life.
So, with this new age and technology, how do you feel about digital magic, casting spells and sigils across the internet? Do you think that's effective?
I have no issue with it. I know a lot of people get kind of touchy about it just because, it's technology and it's new age. But, I've always been one for, going with the times. I mean, we have all this technology at hand. I mean, it's because of this technology that we're able to have this conversation. And why wouldn't we use that in Magic? Now, of course, it can break immersion in, that's the psychological element of Magic, or ritualistic Magic. It's psychodrama. That's what we're doing. We're immersing our conscious mind so much that our subconscious takes over. And so I can get why technology can break the immersion, because, we all have this romanticized fantasy that appeals to our subconscious. But there are times it can be useful. I mean, there's the same people that will tell you that, we shouldn't use technology and all this, are the same people who are playing CDs with ritual music. So we're already using it. It's just a case of to what extent do we use it. You could we get a large plasma screen TV and put the triangle of the art and start doing some ceremonial magic? Damn right we could. I would be all for that. As long as it doesn't break your immersion. As long as it doesn't as long as it appeals to your subconscious mind, use it. That's the way I see it. And I play ritual music from my phone. I've got tons of stuff that I use technological wise. Now sure, it's cool to go out into the desert and have a big stone circle and candles and all that, but sometimes that's not always an option. Sometimes you just gotta sit in your bedroom and throw something on a phone or a laptop and just do your thing. Sometimes you just gotta get your craft on.
So how has being a practitioner treated you? Has Magic improved your life or helped you personally at all?
Improves it, definitely makes it more challenging, I'll say that much. One of the things, as much as I love what I do, and I've been privileged enough to have such a large audience that do follow me and that do love my work, and it's awesome getting messages every day from people telling me, I love your work and I love what you're doing, and I really do stick to the goal. It's not about the fame for me as much as that I do appreciate it. The biggest thing for me is that there's a community of people screaming out for information, and all I'm doing is sharing my experiences and sharing my insights, and hope that someone else might even give me some insight. So it's a two-way thing, but there is a big price that comes with it. This is my day job. This is what I do 24 hours a day, every single day, posting content, writing, getting all the new equipment, setting it up for interviews and stuff like this, and it does take a toll. This has put stress on my life as a whole. It's put stress just on making the money from the services and whatnot, and as well as putting strain on my personal relationships too. So there's a lot of sacrifice with and there's three kinds of people. You've got the people who are always sitting on Facebook and sitting on social media and debating semantics and just stuff that is completely irrelevant. You've got the second group of people who are always out doing stuff. They're doing stuff so much they don't have time to sit and talk about it. And then you've got the people in the middle who are doing all this ritual work and getting all of these experiences and then spending the same amount of time sharing those experiences with other people. And I've often found that it's that third group that take the biggest toll, because they've got to deal with all the people talking about semantics, and the people that they're trying to appeal to are the people who are never on. So it's a weird paradox, and it does put a lot of strain on just life and personal relationships and whatnot. So it's not a path that I take lightly. Spiritually, it's awesome. I've had the pleasure to experience some of the most intense spiritual experiences of my life, even just recently. But it's like everything. It's a blessing and a curse, and it's a challenge getting through the day sometimes. But for all the sacrifice, it's definitely worth it. I would say that much. I think the biggest problem just with the community as a whole is that we are in the age of information. There is so much information on the internet and everywhere else that people don't know what's right and what's wrong, what to take and what not to take. And this is why I stress so much the individualist. Go what works with you. Go what resonates. Don't just, do one Google search and pick up something and pass it off as fact. Test it. Scientifically test it. Follow the same process that a scientist does. Make a hypothesis. Test it under different conditions. Get a feel for it. Trial and error. Perfect it. And then once you're confident with the result, start refining it. Start finding ways to make it deeper, to make it better, to make it more consistent. And even with our age of information, there's still a lot of ignorance. And I think that's because people get drawn into the dogma. There's so much information that they've lost their own inner voice, their own intuition. And, a lot of people talk about how much books they read. A lot of occultists will tell you that they read all these books. Honestly, I don't read that many books. I prefer to go out without a reference, without any preconceived notion of what I'm doing, and to just do it. Be it, out working with the land spirits, be it out working with the gods. I want to have the most minimal amount of knowledge about a topic so that I can go out, experience it, and then read up about it and see what sinks. And I think that, this is just a personal method, but it works. And every single time I've done this, I just get such a more amazing result because I have nothing to be biased about. My mind isn't focused on, okay, if this is what's written down, so this is what I'm going to get. I'm going in there with no idea of what's happening. And my subconscious doesn't have a chance to manifest the things I'm already thinking about. And so, it's another paradox. There's so much information, but to some degree, there are points in the learning process where it isn't necessary. And I think a lot of people just get trapped in this mountain of information and don't know where to go with it. It's still important to read up on stuff. As much as I don't read that many books, I do read a lot of references. I do my research, and I always recommend people to go and read books. If you see a book that's on a topic that you're working on, invest in it. But take things. There's always going to be a fundamental that needs to be learned first. There gets to a point where you learn just to trust your gut. If someone's coming into this completely new with no idea what they're doing, it's good just to get familiar with a few basics and then just take it as far as they can go with it and then kind of continue on. So, you do have to have a sort of balance with that, but it just takes time. It's one of those things that it's difficult for me to tell you exactly what percentage to do of what, because it depends on where you are, it depends on how advanced you are. It's something that they've just got to figure out.
So I know you've been very busy producing a lot of content, and we all like what you're doing. Do you have something coming up in the near future that we should be watching out for?
I have my book coming out in December with Become a Living God. My book's called The Heathen, a Viking Grimoire of Norse Sorcery, and that will be released in December this year. And, for anyone who wants to get any information on that, you can get that at becomealivinggod.com/theheathen. I'm also working on a few projects that I haven't really given much information on just yet, but I'm working on a Gothy manual, which is going to be a free ebook that I'm going to be releasing that goes into just kind of path working. It's a very short book. It's getting into the path of the Gothy, which is the Norse priest, and looking into the things that they can do, the ceremonies, what exactly a Gothy is, the responsibilities, and how to take on that mantle yourself. That and my tarot reading course, which is going to last months. I've only just kind of released the announcement for it, and that's going to go through every single card in the tarot, but it's going to be a very different method. It's going to be my own secrets of tarot, which is going to revolutionize reading as a whole. But that's my three main things that are coming.
So do you have any advice or words of encouragement to any upcoming practitioners or anyone looking to follow us on this certain path?
Best thing to do is to go with your gut. Always trust in your intuition and always take it back to the individual. One of the things that I always try to stress, and I'm going to take it from a very specific angle this time. There are so many different grimoires. There are so many different books and different tomes on the secrets of magic, but what I think sometimes even the authors forget, that what they're writing down is their own personal method, symbols, the actual ingredients that they use in a ritual. And what the reader needs to do is realize that this is a template. This is a template for them to take stuff out and put stuff in. Like, all authors will tell you, you make it your own. You need to make that a literal philosophy for yourself. Anytime you read a grimoire, anytime you read someone else's rituals, be it my rituals or be it someone else's, you have to take the template of the ritual and add your own and tailor it to your individual. So if, for example, let's take incense. Let's say I put, use dragon's blood incense, but you think that this other incense, I don't know, copal, resonates more with what you're doing, use it, change it, tweak it, make it yours. All magic is individual. It always comes back to the individual. Dogma and absolutism have no place to the magician. You are an individual. You are a god. Let it out. And with every ritual, with everything you learn, tweak it and refine it. And that's the best piece of advice that I can give. And honestly, it's what my entire work focuses around is that one concept, the individual.
So I just wanted to thank you again for talking with us and digging a little deeper on this topic called chaos magic.
Of course, always happy to put my stuff out there and help other people get their stuff out there too.
All right, man. Well, I didn't want to take up too much of your time today, so thanks for doing this, and hopefully we'll be in touch, and we'll talk again.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
All right.
Stay true. Stay awesome.
Yep. See ya. My goal with this series is to learn a little bit more about chaos magic, what exactly it is, and how we can use it. Now, in the next episode we will be talking to a very experienced and a sort of different type of path, a path of witchcraft. Now, he also incorporates chaos magic into his practice. So for this next upcoming episode on chaos magic, we'll be talking to a good friend and very experienced practitioner, Uncle Birchtree. With him, we will be focusing more on the methods of use and how you can apply chaos magic with sigils and symbols. I hope you all enjoyed this slightly different type of episode in this chaos magic series. We will be experimenting with different ways to entertain you, so you will never know what to expect with the next one. So until next time, I thank you all for watching and supporting, and like I always say, stay on the positive path.